Hello guys and welcome to another video. So as you guys know, I picked up quite a few of these Alienwares, at least 10 of them from what I can remember, and I was going around on eBay seeing what sort of chips these things can support, and I came across this guy. This is the E5 2620 Xeon, and this has 6 cores and 12 threads. It has a base speed of 2 GHz, although will turbo up to a nice 2.5 GHz, and it runs on 95 watts of power. Um, these things are cheap as chips. It struck me interest when I saw it was 6 cores and 12 threads. So what we're going to do in today's video, guys, is test this chip inside this system that's currently running a 3930K and see what sort of performance we get out of this. Will it be let down by the low clock speed, or will it still play games today? This is a £5 Xeon. The 2620 you can pick up on eBay. It's LJ 2011 socket. It's a £5 Xeon, guys. So if we get anywhere decent performance on this thing, it's going to be cheap as chips, basically. So let's put it in the system. Okay, so that's now in the system. Booted up fine as well. We have got a GTX 980 4GB in there from MSI. We've got 12GB of DDR3. One is an 8GB and one is a 4GB. They're both Corsair and they run at 1600 MHz. I am going to run all games in ultra settings, so let's get to it. I'm looking forward to this one, guys. Okay, so first up we have Battlefield 5. Like I said, all games will be run in ultra settings, so let's get into it. So as you guys can see straight away, I was immediately really impressed. We're above 60 FPS in ultra settings with this £5 Xeon, and I'm just going up on this hill level, which is quite intense. Quite a lot of people use this as like a benchmarking level, and I was absolutely gobsmacked with the performance of this £5 Xeon. It didn't seem to care that it had a low clock speed. It just, as long as it had the high core count and high threads. And throughout the gameplay that I was playing on this, it never dropped below 60 FPS. So playing Battlefield 5, you're gonna have no problems at all. The situation changes in Borderlands 3. Quite a lot of older hardware that I use has problems with this game, and as you can see, most of the time we're bouncing around between the 30 and the high 40 range, and the CPU usage, is quite low as well in this game. But what is interesting to see is the GPU usage was bouncing around quite a lot as well. So the only thing I can put this down to is compatibility, or the low clock speed. Maybe, it hasn't got the support, but the GPU usage was up and down. It was a still playable experience, and don't get me wrong, if we put this in medium, we would have got a 60 FPS. But, it ran in between the 30s and the high 40s. Here we have Doom, and I weren't surprised to see this after the other two games. We were always above 60 FPS. I don't think we even dropped below 100 FPS majority of the entire gameplay. I'm just showing you here that we were in Ultra, even though all his games were recorded in Ultra anyway. One thing to notice though, in the GPU usage, it was bouncing around quite a lot, as we saw in Borderlands 3. To the point where I actually saw it go to like 65%, but we never dropped below 100 FPS. So the gameplay was very smooth, and you're going to have no problem running this game with the £5 2620 Xeon. Here we have the Far Cry New Dawn, and straight away this game doesn't like more than 4 cores, as I've tested in the past. So I wasn't surprised to see this actually did pretty bad here. Although it wasn't too bad, it was still a playable experience. But as you can see by the GPU usage, it was bouncing around quite a lot. We'd end up running the in-game benchmark and getting an average FPS in Ultra of 46 FPS. But this could have easily have achieved 60 FPS if we lowered them settings down to medium. But it's worth noting that this game does not like more than 4 cores for some reason. Here we have Forza Horizon 4, and this absolutely run beautifully. Now the game did have a problem with MSI Reaver Tuner, so that's why you can't see the system specs on the left. I did try, and for some reason it just wouldn't work. So I put on the in-game FPS counter at the top right, and you can see that, you know, majority of the time, guys, we're above 60 FPS in Ultra, and this run absolutely beautifully. To the point where I actually took a break and had a few races because, you know, this game looks absolutely stunning. The scenery is beautiful, and this is one that I actually like to play when, you know, I like to relax. But the FPS was really good, so it's like the low clock speed didn't matter here. It will. Some games like the cores, some games like the high clock speed, and that's what we're seeing here. And here we have another one of my favourite series, as you guys know if you've watched my videos in the past, Gears of War 5. Now this was in Ultra again, of course, and majority of the time we were above 60 FPS. But if you take a look at the GPU usage again, we are seeing that usage not going to 100%. It actually went to 80% for a little while. So there is some bottleneck on the GPU in some games with this processor. But I would let that put you off if you're on a tight budget. See, this is a £5 Xeon, and I was very impressed at this point with all these games that I was testing. But yeah, Gears of War 5, you're going to be running at either just below or above 60 FPS, and you're going to have a great experience. Next up, I run Shadow of the Tomb Raider, and again, the graphics are absolutely stunning on this game. And in the end result, we end up getting an average FPS of 55. And if you aren't noticing by now, guys, I'm absolutely in love with this processor. I like price to performance, and you definitely get it with the CPU. But as you can see, once again, we are seeing the trend again that the GPU usage is not at 99%. It actually hovers between 90 and 95 on this game. But yeah, as you can see right here, the average FPS was 55. And the last game I'm going to test today is the Outer Worlds. And this is another beautiful open world game. And we're above 60 FPS majority of the time. We did have a few dips. I'm just walking around the beginning area of the game here, and you can see you know, this little dog enemy. I'm not. I haven't played a lot of this game, so I don't know what the enemies are called. But we're above 60 FPS majority of the time. Like I said, we do have a few dips into the 50s. But this CPU again was able to manage. Like I said, we had the slight little dip there. It was able to manage ultra gameplay and not break a sweat, in my opinion. But like I say, we are still seeing, even in this game, the GPU usage where it's going down from 99%. Like I say, we see 48% there, which is a huge spike. Alright, so let's summarize, guys. So, yeah, a £5 Xeon, 6 core, 12 threads, and this thing, in my opinion, is an absolute monster. Don't get me wrong, in some games, that core clock is, you know, messing with performance a little bit, but you can't really go wrong for £5, guys. This never reached 100%. The graphics card was always maxing out, unless there was like a, you know, it was a slightly lower in some games, which only I can put down to like compatibility or low clock speed or whatever, you know. But holy crap, this thing performed really well. If you have a 2011 socket motherboard and you're looking for a cheap CPU that's going to run today's games, even if you went with a higher card than the GTX 980, like a 1060 or something, you're going to have a great time in my opinion. There is an 8-core variant of this CPU, so I'm going to try and get hold of one of those for the next video. But yeah, I will leave a link in the description below where you can find these £5 guys. Grab one of these. Great deal in my opinion. Gonna run everything you can today. So that's gonna wrap up for this video, guys. If you like this sort of content, leave us a subscribe, like the video, and leave us a comment. You know, what sort of CPUs have you got in your 2011? I've tested the 3930K. I'm yet to still get a 4820K. I know there's other Xeons out there. The 4930K is just too expensive. I mean, there's people still want £100 for those, and they're not worth it. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video, guys.